In today's video, we explore a hidden gem in the Treasure State when we visit the Old Montana Prison and Auto Museum in Deer Lodge, Montana. This museum was jam-packed with goodies, with everything from historical vehicles that carried some of the first Yellowstone Park visitors to a very familiar car for my viewers. There really was a huge collection of cool classic cars, including muscle cars. But what if I told you that you could spend just $10 and actually get a 1965 Ford Mustang convertible? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how in today's video. And this is going to be a really special episode featuring the great state of Montana. As you can tell, the entire museum is housed in an old prison in Deer Lodge, Montana, which was highly unique and very unusual. I love walking in and seeing all of the vintage vehicles that were used back then. Everything from the horse and wagon and horse and buggy to the first horseless carriages. Pretty unique history when you think about Montana. So that was pretty cool to see the mile marker for the road. And I love seeing the history of places, especially the history of the Old West. Now, if you're interested in more of my museum tours beyond the auto museums, if you like nature, those kinds of things, you're going to want to check out my other channel, My Monarch Ranch. On My Monarch Ranch, we're actually featuring tons of cool things coming up. We're going to have everything for my trip to Alaska, the full trip to Alaska, and also the full trip to Montana, because I did a whole bunch more things in Montana than just visiting this car museum. This was definitely one of the highlights of the trip, but if you want to see the other things that I did in Montana, including searching for actual treasure in Montana, you're going to want to check out my other channel, My Monarch Ranch. This museum had really well written descriptions, so if you're interested in learning about any of these cars, you should be able to zoom in and zoom in and pause and check out the signs. I try to get close to each sign just so that you guys can get more information about the vehicles. It's just so interesting to see just how much cars have evolved. And back when they first started, like, almost, look at these, they almost all look very similar. It's hard to tell them apart, really. And then just how much the vehicle makers differentiated themselves with all these new offerings and modernizing the vehicles. So I think that going to these museums is really helpful for people if you want to learn more about classic and vintage vehicles.
More, yeah. Mm-hmm. Guppy's back there with you now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're heavy.
So I believe that every single auto museum I've been to has had a Studebaker at this point, at least one. And I just feel like they're just so beautiful and so well designed that every auto museum has them, even if they weren't always the most common of vehicles. This is actually a really cool phenomenon that you'll notice if you like a specific car, become interested in a specific thing. It's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, or the frequency illusion, which is a cognitive bias where something you recently learned about seems to appear more frequently than it actually does. So is this the case with me and Studebakers? Because that was just the first Studebaker that we're going to spot today at the museum. One of the other familiar vehicles that we're going to spot is something that if you've been watching my channel at all, you've already seen this vehicle before, just in a different color. So stick around for a familiar face. Have you noticed this with any vehicle? If you have, post it down in the comments below. I'd love to see which vehicle you seem to see all the time under the frequency illusion. So let's talk upcoming car shows. I will try to do some of these car shows live depending on what's going on, but unfortunately, when I don't have good cell reception, the quality of the live videos is either completely lacking and it doesn't work, or it's hard to see the details of the car. And I want you guys to have the best experience possible when viewing these videos. I just discovered a faster and easier way of making my videos, so that should really help out a lot with this whole channel and my other channel too. So I'm really excited to be working on that. And I will be releasing these videos on Sundays and Thursdays, like I said before. So first up, we have the Arcadia Run with a Winner car show, which is actually a car show filmed at a horse racing track. So that should be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to visit that. The next day is going to be the Benedict Castle Concours, and that actually should be today as you're watching this video. So that should be really exciting. I'm so excited to bring you something so beautiful that's right really in Southern California's backyard. So join me for that. Memorial Day weekend will be a Veterans Paint and Chrome car show. So I will be attending that show. And I also may be going to Santa Maria for the Cruisin' Nationals. We'll see. There's another couple of cool things going on Memorial Day weekend that we'll see if I can get there or not, including a San Diego auto swap car show. So that sounds really cool. I have not been to a big swap meet down in San Diego, so that might be worth the drive for me to head on down to check that out.
We could change your whole life, couldn't we, Brandon?
So this is the first Studebaker Land Cruiser I've ever seen. Pretty cool vehicle and completely different than the Toyota Land Cruiser that came later. I promised you a familiar face, and here she is. This is a 1964 Studebaker Avanti. Now you'll notice that it says Avanti 2 on this car, which I find curious because it really should have been listed as a regular Avanti. But anyway, the 1964 Studebaker Avantis have these square headlights like this one, and that's what mine has as well. I've seen other Avantis in other museums. You can actually see the first ever Avanti made by clicking on the video that I'll include after this one, which is of the last auto museum that I visited, which was the America's Car Museum, LeMay's America's Car Museum in Tacoma, Washington. And I promised you I'd tell you how you could win this 1965 Ford Mustang GT with the convertible top. Now you can enter with one entry costs $10 to enter into the raffle to win this vehicle. I do believe that you can also, since it's a nonprofit, I think that you can also put that on your taxes, but don't quote me on that. So thank you so much for joining me for this tour of the Old Montana Auto Museum. Like I said, it's all supposed to be a prison museum. I didn't even stop in that side because that's just not my thing. But I really like this auto museum and highly recommend it if you're driving through Montana. It's located in between Bozeman and Missoula, Montana. So it's a great place to visit if you're in Montana. Now, don't forget to join me for the next video, which will be released on Thursday. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, please share with your friends, comment, like, everything like that helps, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'll catch you in the next video, and I hope you all have a great week. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.